Arsenal win on penalties against Crystal Palace to go through to the semi-finals of the EFL Cup against Chelsea in January. It's a lot to unpack on this one because the game should not have gone to penalties. I think Arsenal were deserved winners, but should have won it comfortably, especially in the first half. So let's unpack it all. This is the real Arsenal deal. Hello and welcome back. This is Rav, as always, from the Real Arsenal Deal, your host. I hope you are well. I am recording this just a few minutes after the final whistle, well, I guess after the final penalty kick, actually, against Crystal Palace. It's Melbourne time, Wednesday morning here in Australia. It's a bit windy outside, a bit chilly, but look, I have to get this done. I'm enjoying lately doing these post-match instant reaction style podcasts. I hope you are too. It's just a good way for me to process the game, compartmentalize my thoughts, and then move on with the rest of the day. Because I do have some thoughts. I think immediately it's that the first thing that springs to mind as I was setting up here is that it's a great moment for Kepa. For Kepa to save that penalty, I really, really liked how the players, but the players show you so much about how much it means to them, right? Like watching from afar, I often wonder, do we really need to be in this competition? Are we going to be able to cope with the extra fixtures in January? You know, is it really that is it really that major a trophy in the grand scheme of things? And look, there's all sorts of viewpoints on it, which I understand and respect. Everyone has different feelings on this competition, but the players tell you. The players tell you exactly by the energy that they transmit and the intensity of which they play, and they celebrate. And you saw post-match what it meant to them. You saw from Arteta, you saw just a host of players who were not even in the matchday squad, by the way, who went straight out and straight for Kepa. I mean, Raya was there, of course. Mosquera, who else did I see? Pretty sure Gabriel was there as well, giving him hugs and pats and high fives, and Hincapié was there as well. So the players tell you, and it's a great moment for Kepa himself, because I think it's his third appearance, is it? All his appearances so far have been in this competition. So he is our cup goalkeeper, so to speak. And I think many of us expected that. And he probably knew as well coming into Arsenal that what the outlook would look like for him. But it's still great, right? It's still great because we need players engaged. We need them sharp. You never know what can happen. You never know if there's going to be an injury to Raya or something that happens in the middle of a match that requires him to be substituted. It could be anything. Like any situation may arise, and we must be ready. And moments like this can really be a huge boost of momentum and confidence, just to keep Kepa right in that group, just to keep him engaged, keep him feeling part of it. And that's my immediate thought. Great moment for him. Aside from that, I guess my most immediate other thoughts are, look, Arsenal concede again in injury time. This is a worrying little trend. It's not sustainable. I think we all know that, and maybe it's a bit of an aberration in this last 2 or 3 weeks. So I guess if you include the Sunderland match, that was a few weeks prior to that. This was certainly not happening throughout the season otherwise. I think we all remember that period of time, maybe 2 months ago, when Arsenal were winning many matches, consecutive matches in a row, with keeping clean sheets and actually not even allowing shots on target. I remember all those statistics being branded about and spoken about, and I spoke about it at length here. I said things can change, and things change very quickly, don't they, in football? And just as quickly as they change, they can also change back. So I very much think that this is a little slide that Arsenal want to arrest. We cannot continue to concede goals in the 92nd, 93rd, 94th minute and expect to lift those major trophies, which we're all gunning for. So it was a bit of a sucker punch, wasn't it? It wasn't a good goal to concede. Look, I get it. I will have to say that it shouldn't have even been down to that, right? We should have been 3 or 4-0 ahead at half time. Maybe I should talk about that more in a bit as well. But one of the natures of doing post-match instant style reactions is you tend to work in reverse, like a reverse order. I remember the things that happened most immediately, and then my mind can just sort of drift further back to things that happened prior in the match or in the first half. So I think the prevailing narrative here for me is it's a great moment for Kepa. We should not have conceded in injury time, we should have seen the match through. It's taken another own goal as well, which is another quirky little trend that's emerged lately. I mean, you have to feel, you got to feel for Palace in that respect. I mean, they withstood everything that Arsenal threw up, especially their goalkeeper, who I didn't really know too much about coming into this, but I'm certainly going to remember his name. Walter Benitez, just another example of these keepers that sort of come out of nowhere and just turn into prime Neuer, right? When they face Arsenal, when they come to the Emirates, how many times has that happened? How many times have I seen this match, by the way, where we have chance after chance after chance, save after save, miss after miss, and then all it takes is first shot on target for the opposition, deep late in the match, and they score. I mean, how many times have we all experienced that? I wish that's not a recent trend, by the way, but I wish that was eliminated too. It absolutely does my head in. In terms of selection for this match, I think it went largely as expected. I don't think anyone foresaw an injury to Hincapié that left him out of the matchday squad entirely. That means our back line, which is already stretched, by the way, it made it stretched even further. So I think going into this match, we knew that one of Saliba or Timber would need to play. Someone needs to cover that right back position. I know there's Marley Salmon in the squad. Is Arteta going to hand a 16-year-old defender a start in a quarterfinal of this competition? Probably unlikely. I think if the game went differently and we put away our chances in the first half and we could just cruise through a bit more in the second half with a 2 or 3 goal lead, I think the entire complexion of the substitutions would have changed as well. I don't think we would have needed to see the likes of Rice or Saka brought on. He usually does bring on one or two of the senior players anyway, but you can have opportunities there for Salmon to come on. Maybe he could have come on and taken, say, 35, 40 minutes off Timber or Saliba. Maybe Waneri would have come on as well. And another match that he hasn't featured in as well. I know that's going to irk some people, and that's going to be another narrative coming out of this match, because I looked on paper and I thought surely he starts this one, or surely he at least features as a second half substitute. But look, the game state didn't allow that, unfortunately. And as I said, if you put away those chances, then the entire dynamic changes of what you can or can't do off the bench. So just to round off my comments on selection, Kepa in goal. I think we all saw that. Lewis Skelly was almost a certainty to come in. Hincapié's absence meant that, we had to start Calafiori, Timber, and Saliba with this. I know there was the option of playing Norgard as a centre half, but then that means that you're quite likely leaning into one of Rice or Zubimendi to hold the midfield together. I don't think it's going to be as much as we may say on paper, you can play Marino there, and you can have Waneri and Eza as your 2-8s, and then you can play Madueke and Martinelli and Jesus up front. This is Arteta, right? He's not necessarily going to do that. So selection largely went as we thought, I guess. It was Marino in midfield to partner Eza. Eza hasn't played in a little while, by the way. I think since that Aston Villa match and that mistake in not tracking the run, this might just be, there might be a correlation with that Eza's minutes have eased off lately. But great to see him start again. I know he's still learning the system and the defensive aspects to the system, which may actually play partially into why Waneri's minutes have dried up lately as well. Maybe he's still learning that aspect. Madueke played as well, another player we haven't seen since I think Club Brugge, since his 2 goals there. So that's 3 or 4 matches ago now, isn't it? So he hasn't really featured since, but he rightfully started. Jesus, I thought he looked good. He was sharp. This is another big narrative to come out of this match that I want to focus on. I think we've got Gabriel Jesus fit, match fit and sharp, and he's hungry. He's hungry for goals. He just looks like he's slotted in so well. He looks like a player who's got unfinished business. I think he himself has even used those quotes. There was an excellent article last week in the Players Tribune, which I glanced over, but I want to read more so in depth. I just saw some extracted comments from that, and he looks hungry. This is really, really positive. I don't want to jinx anything, touch wood, because we know that unfortunately when Jesus has reappeared back on the scene, he's looked sharp and fit, and unfortunately has got injured again shortly after. So I don't want to look too far ahead, but if this is Gabriel Jesus back in this type of form and this hunger, that interplay he had with Martinelli as well, it really took me back a few seasons ago. Remember that season where prior to the World Cup, Jesus was just electric. He elevated the entire squad, him and Zinchenko. And he and Martinelli have an excellent relationship. And boy, was it on show in this first half. Martinelli, I feel, was actually our best player in that first half. He was fantastic. I don't know the Crystal Palace's, the fullback's name. I've forgotten, sorry, at the time of recording this. But Martinelli gave him an absolute roasting. And he was taken off at halftime, more so also to protect himself, maybe, because Martinelli was causing all sorts of problems down that left-hand side. He looked fantastic. And a couple of excellent crosses in, a sensational cross that Jesus has done really well to head it. He couldn't have headed that ball better, Jesus. He's aimed it perfectly into that bottom corner, and just a fantastic save from Benitez. One of a string of saves he's made in that first half. That was probably his best for the match, and that's saying something because he had a couple of key moments as well throughout. But yeah, you saw the look on Jesus's face, head in hands. I mean, he couldn't have done better with that. It was an excellent cross, excellent interplay between the two of them, excellent build-up from Arsenal. We had a few team build-up moments again that we couldn't quite capitalize on. It reminded me a bit against Everton as well. We had excellent sweeping team movements, passing, opening up space, that passage of play as we get to the final third, get to the right positions, get the shot off, but then can't quite finish it. It's it was a little bit frustrating in that regard. Even to start the match, I think it was 2 minutes in, and Madueke was presented with an excellent chance that he struck straight at the keeper. I know it goes down as a save to Benitez, but you look at these moments and you think, like, why are we striking it straight at the keeper? Like, either side of him, at least make him work. And I think Madueke as well, when he looks back on that, he'll be disappointed because it was struck from close range right at the keeper. And we had a few sort of half iffy moments. I think Madueke had a couple of moments as well in the opening few minutes where his first touch was just a bit off. And you could just see the reaction on his face, like he knew as well that he should have done better. And it's just one of those things now with such a big squad that Arsenal have. In spite of all the injuries we've got, we still have a few options in our forward positions, but match sharpness is so important. Like, we're still trying to figure this out. I mean, I know Arteta is himself. We're still trying to figure this out. That how do we strike that balance between utilizing our substitutes, our squad, our forward options, whilst also managing the minutes of our starters, such as Saka, such as Gyökeres, Rice, the players who've had a very heavy workload, Zubimendi, Merino, Trossard as well. How do we balance all of this whilst also making sure when players come in, such as Madueke, they're not just stepping back in from the cold, and you see that little sharpness that otherwise wouldn't happen if they're match fit and playing regularly and have that momentum. It's a difficult one to strike, isn't it, that rhythm? We kind of haven't seen, I think we all know that there are levels to Arsenal yet that in our attack, that we are going to power up. We are at some point, we're going to see that elevation in what we can do. And the next 4 to 6 weeks is really going to be a test of that, because the fixtures are absolutely wild now, especially now going through in this competition and having a 2-legged playoff against Chelsea. The FA Cup will start as well. Those 2 remaining group stage fixtures of the Champions League, which thankfully Arsenal, we have earned the right now to heavily rotate in those matches and manage the minutes and still finish where we want to finish, towards the top of the table of Champions League. So January, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong again, and I think we're really going to see full utilization of the squad, and we need them sharp. We need them to step in, step out, whether they start or take 30 minutes off someone off the bench. I think we're going to get a great insight now into what the vision was with how heavily we invested in the summer, with how well Arsenal did signing those 8 players. And we're also on the cusp now of getting some players back, hopefully. Havertz is back in full training. I believe Mosquera and Gabriel are kind of on track as well to return early January, hopefully. So we're going to get a great glimpse into what this vision of Arsenal is. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great, hopefully. One aspect of this match that I usually don't like talking about, I don't like spending long segments about the referee, but I have to mention the way he allowed Jefferson Lerma just to continually foul Arsenal players. Some of them were quite heavy challenges, heavy obstructions, style fouls, designed to break up play and to slow down the nature of the game. At what point does he brandish a yellow card? It's so bizarre how many times this seems to be happening. I mean, it happened against Wolves as well. Hwang, Doherty, they can have 4, 5, 6 fouls against Arsenal before the referee produces the yellow card, and the yellow card changes everything. It changes it completely changes how the next phase of players goes, or the next contest that player enters. And it's I can only laugh in sort of sarcasm that how many times does it happen? And then an Arsenal player has one indiscretion or their first foul or something, and the yellow card is produced anyway. It's so predictable that I almost just have to laugh. And this was just the latest installment of it. The latest installment of how many challenges, how many fouls is a player allowed before producing a yellow card against Arsenal. And this time the contestant was Jefferson Lerma. It was just bizarre stuff. But anyway, with that little rant out of the way, I don't really think Palace produced much, really. I can't recall them having any major shots on target. I don't remember Kepa caught into action too much. I think we handled the tempo, we handled the match pretty well in that regard. We were really pressing forward in the closing 8-10 minutes of that first half. We sensed there was a goal in this. I think we all know as Arsenal fans and everyone at the club that the longer and longer the match goes and it stays scoreless, and we don't produce that first goal, the more hope it gives the opposition, the deeper they can sit, and that the more they can look to counter and nick something at the other end. And we've seen it time and again, right? How many times has this happened to Arsenal over the years? So there was that growing sense of frustration from the fans as well, understandably, and me watching at home, that we just need to produce one of these. We just need that goal, and it changes everything. And the opening stages of the second half, I actually thought Palace probably had their best spell. They probably sensed that there's something here for them, that if they can just nick one in that period, that then they could potentially make it very difficult for Arsenal to see it through. Our goal in the end, it did come after Saka's come on, excellent delivery from corner. It was hard for me to tell watching it live. Straight away, I thought it was Saliba who got the touch on it. But then watching the celebrations, the camera zoomed in on Calafiori with both arms up, so maybe it was him. But I just think it was a collective team celebration. Took me a couple of replays to realize it was an own goal. Own goal has been very dominant lately at Arsenal. Is own goal our highest scorer in the last few matches? I think so. You certainly take it. I think we all know it's not sustainable. However, it's not really reflective of the match. It's not like that's the only thing that we relied upon to scrape a goal. Not at all. We had a host of chances. I haven't seen the XG stats. It wouldn't surprise me if it was something like, Arsenal 2.24 or 2.5 to Crystal Palace, zero point 0.3 or zero point 0.4, something like that. I'll have to have a look after I publish this. But it just felt that type of match for me. We had a number of chances, and even accounting for the key saves that Palace goalkeeper has made, we still should have done better. It should not have been. It should have not have taken an own goal for us to finally score. So unfortunately, even after a 1-0 lead, I've already mentioned before that that we conceded a goal we shouldn't have. It's the ball over the top. I don't know what's happened. We've lost the marker on Guehi. It's a headed down right into the danger area, which time and again, like, we gobble that stuff up. And that's right where you want your centre halves positioned, or you want someone like Zubimendi or Rice. That's normally where we are. Gabriel eats that up in the Premier League. But in this match, it's chopping and changing. It's different systems, different players coming in or out, positioning, different goalkeeper telling them where to be. Maybe a little bit of chaos is what's undone us as there. It was very unfortunate. Look, I thought Norgard was otherwise quite good. He's made a couple of key challenges, slid in well. Lieber as well, I have to mention, like, just what a footballer he is. How many times did he times his dive in beautifully? Did it a couple of times against his compatriot Mateta. One key pass that went through that Saliba he just timed it beautifully, slid in, cleanly got the ball, no danger of a foul, and he's just a magnificent footballer. Like, he just does Saliba things, and we're all just so used to it. We kind of take it for granted. He's just that good. So in the end, it goes to a penalty shootout, and what I really liked is I liked the penalty takers. I liked the order. I liked that it was Odegaard first to set the scene, to set the tone, thumps it in. And straight away, you can see that, pumping up the crowd. It was a good toss to win as well, actually, so we could be at that end, at our end, rather than the other end of the Emirates, where the away fans positioned. So that went in Arsenal's favour. I've got to say, in terms of both teams, though, right, like, how good were the penalties in this? Like, all of them were just clutch. Even the likes of Saliba, I've already mentioned, he dispatched his coolly and calmly. How was Timber's penalty, by the way? That was a rocket. That's the type of penalty that you'd expect, like, a world-class striker to practice and score. That was amazing. I think just time and again, all players who stepped up, full credit to them under that sort of pressure, especially when it gets to sudden death, right? Calafiori was the first to step up as the sixth penalty taker, and look, time and again, it was just class finishing from both. And look, and as it turns out, so often in these sudden death moments, it just takes one miss or one save, and that's the difference. So it was 8 out of 8 scored for Arsenal, 7 out of 8 for Crystal Palace. Unfortunately for them, it just so happens that they missed in the lottery. And Kepa has chosen well. He's chosen the right side well, and he's dived and he's saved it. And fantastic scenes for him. Good on him. Just a big sense of relief as well for everyone watching that. Hey, we actually got through this one. And I've already mentioned how good the post-match scenes were. I'm going to have to watch that again. I sort of hastily switched it off to set up to record this podcast. But I do want to watch that again because it's just heartwarming stuff. If you're listening to this, please go and revisit that too, because it gives you every sense of how engaged this group is and how much they want it. Look, I've got to be fully honest. If Arsenal exited this, I have a few worries about January anyway. I think January in 2025, it really broke our season. We didn't really recover, not just the volume of injuries, all the cluster injuries to forwards, from Jesus. Saka was already injured, then Havertz, then Martinelli with a hamstring. We couldn't quite recover from that. And I know there was the whole narrative there as well about the January transfer window, and we didn't strengthen, we chose not to. But that lives long in the memory for me that, with a match with 10 matches in the month, basically every 3 days, are we up for this? Are we going to be able to handle that? And this is a very different Arsenal now. We've invested heavily, as I've already mentioned, as we all know. We've got those 8 extra squad additions, and hopefully with some players to return. Also up our sleeve in the January market, we've got 2 Premier League loan spots just in case an opportunity comes up. Do we need to shore up a fullback or a defender or something? I don't know. Maybe there's an opportunity there, but we've certainly got more things up our sleeve than we did 12 months ago. So in that respect, I'm a lot calmer about it. Look, it would have been fine either way. Put it that way. I never want Arsenal to lose, not at all. I mean, every competitive match, it's not in the mentality of Arsenal or Arteta. So you saw how much they wanted, and we're up against Chelsea now again. It's a spicy match. It's a spicy fixture now. They tried to kick us off the park last time in their grand final, and now they get a chance to do it again over 2 legs, right, in an actual semi-final of a cup competition. So let's see how we go. I think we'll have something to say about that too. So overall, the job done. It wasn't pretty, but and it wasn't plan A, but we found a way. We've got the answers, and onwards we go in the EFL Cup. So I'm going to bring this one to a close. Before I do, just if you could please like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, please follow the show on Apple or Spotify. Leave me a 5-star review. Leave me any comments or feedback. I read every word, and thank you so much for all the recent activity. I will also say, for those of you who celebrate, Merry Christmas to all of you. It's that time of year, and for those of you who don't, or I also know that Christmas this time of year can be a very difficult time for many who maybe don't have family or friends or close relationships close by. It can be a very difficult time for you as well. So just to give you a shout out as well, I see you, I understand the challenges, and there's support and help available. So please, just let's be kind, look after each other. And it's that time of year, right, to make those extra special. So look, on that note, I will bring this one to a close. Please keep your eye for, in a few days' time, I will be recording again post-match after the Brighton Premier League match. We're back in action in just a few days' time. The fixtures are coming in thick and fast, and let's keep this momentum going. So until then, take care of yourselves, check in with your loved ones, and come on, Arsenal.